This has nothing to do with the 1920s aesthetic. I just look like a centaur, like a. Hi YouTube! I want to look at female bodies and how the fashion trends have changed, and I want to see if people can Photoshop me into those trends. And the purpose of this video, which is kind of quirky, right? Like, the main purpose is to look at how beauty, like fashion, is constantly swinging back and forth, back and forth. And the moral of the story, we should just live in our own bodies in whatever way makes us feel good and strong and confident and comfortable. Okay, getting off my soapbox with my little Invisalign and I cut my own fringe today. So that's why this one's behind the ear, it's really bad. I sent pictures to 8 different Photoshoppers on Fiverr. Let's have a look, see what the results are, and see what it can tell us about our bodies today. We're starting with the 1920s. So the 1920s in America was a time of lush wealth, conspicuous consumption. Everything was over the top, big and fancy. It also was a time where bathroom scales were invented. Throw away scales unless your doctor says you need it. But we have the 1920s to thank for that. It was also a time where women were going to department stores and could see their body in full-length mirrors. The trend in the 1920s was very androgynous. So it was short bob haircut, flat chest, kind of dropped waist, so a long waist, like just very long. For my Fiverr guy, I said, hi, please can you give me a flatter chest, a slimmer figure, smaller waist, and short bob hairstyle, like a 1920s flapper girl. Let's see what our beautiful results are. Well, I mean, that's a result. I don't think it's the right one. This has nothing to do with the 1920s aesthetic. I just look like a centaur, like a, it's a really bad Photoshop job. They've made my butt kind of really perky, and they've obviously made my legs skinnier, but then didn't know what to do with my waist. I think they tried to make it longer, but it's just bad. Heading into the 1950s, we had the classic starlet. So Marilyn Monroe, that very hourglass figure, lots of curves, very kind of sexy and sassy. And guess what? In the swinging 60s, that's my swinging 60s dance, fashion swung to the other extreme. So no longer those fabulous curves, now it was fiercely thin. Think Twiggy, that kind of wayfish frame, willowy limbs, big eyes, short hair. I don't know why this is hair. And I did have someone Photoshop me into the 60s. I said, hi, can you please make me look very thin and willowy, like a model from the 1960s? Long slim legs, a young face and physique, because it was very kind of young, maybe with a bit more eye makeup. All right. I mean, I'm a lot thinner in this picture. This one's actually done a pretty good job, I would say. The eye makeup is interesting. It's nothing I've ever seen before. It's literally here and here, 2 bright pink under eyes. But who knows, maybe this will be a new trend going forward. I haven't seen that one yet, but it'd be a great way to hide those circles. Better than our first order. We swang into the supermodel era, which was the 1980s, 1970s, 1980s. This would be your Christy Brinkley, your Cindy Crawford, your Brooke Shields. There was a huge push towards more exercise, but at the same time, there was a rise in the number of eating disorders, which is a trend we will see throughout the rest of this talk. And for this order, I asked someone, hi, can you please add abs to this photo, but make me curvier, lean, but with more muscles? And they did a really bad job. Because I talk so much about Photoshop apps, I know exactly what they've done. They've literally, there's an app where you just like drag and drop abs on a body. That's all they've done. I think maybe they made my butt a bit bigger, but I don't think I quite look like Christy Brinkley or the supermodels of the 1980s. All right, in the 1990s is the heroin chic era. This was the era I grew up in. It's about being thin, thin, thin. So for this order, I asked him to make me thin, a lot thinner. But he changed my tummy. He made it unbloated, made my legs thinner. I think my breasts are perkier. He just sort of slimmed me down and toned me up. I'm not as willowy thin as a 1990s model, but I'm definitely thinner than my natural aesthetic. All this brings us into the modern era, which is characterized by Kim Kardashian. So think super toned, big boobs, huge bum and booty, tight abs, very sporty. For these pictures, I didn't give any detailed instructions. I just told the guys to Photoshop me prettier because I wanted it to be tied to modern day beauty standards. Okay, number one, they made me a lot thinner and made my boobs bigger, it appears. I have bigger boobs, thinner thighs, and with a thigh gap, which of course is a very trendy thing right now. It's right up there with no hip dips and with having hip bridges, which is all this just ridiculous. Like, when are we gonna stop inventing parts of the anatomy that a woman should be ashamed of? When? But anyways, on to a happier note. Second one. Gave me a thigh gap and hips, but in a really weird way. That goes with like the centaur picture from before, where it's like the anatomy doesn't quite stack up. Boobs are bigger though. Next picture. I have a booty and a half. I mean, not mad at it. That's a bum bum. I would not be angry at that bum bum. That is a juicy peach. And then of course my boob, again just one boob, bigger. All right, all this brings me back to the purpose of this video, and that is basically to love yourself in whatever way makes you feel good. It is not one thing, it's whatever speaks to you, whatever makes you feel good and strong and beautiful. And there are just so many different body types that the one thing we need to fight against is the urge just to listen to fashion. Because like women's hemlines, like what's in style, the trends are gonna keep swinging from one extreme to another. But health, it doesn't do that swing. It's not up and down and this and that. Health is always that kind of beautiful, stable thing that makes us feel good inside and glowing on the outside, like whatever those period commercials are always saying. Just a little reminder to love yourself. I hope this slightly entertaining, kind of weird video helped you on that journey. And thanks for joining me today, guys.